The phone call came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was reviewing quarterly reports in my cubicle. An unknown local number. Normally I'd let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. "Is this Amelia Chin?" The voice was gruff but carefully professional. "Yes," I replied. "Who's calling?" "My name's Frank DeMarco. I run DeMarco's Pawn and Gold on Riverside. I believe I have something that belongs to you. A Rolex Submariner." My heart stopped. That was impossible. I had my father's watch, didn't I? I opened my desk drawer where I kept it during work hours. "Ma'am? You still there?" "The watch," I whispered. "It's gone." I was afraid of that. "Look, can you come down to the shop? There's something you need to see, and I'd rather not discuss it over the phone." I left work immediately, my hands shaking as I drove. Dad's watch, the only thing he had left specifically to me, was in that drawer just yesterday morning. I checked it every day, running my fingers over the inscription on the back. "To my daughter Amelia. May time always be on your side. Buffett." He wore it every day of my childhood, through construction jobs, Sunday dinners, my school plays. Even during chemo when his wrist grew too thin and we had to adjust the band. On his deathbed he pulled me close and pressed it into my palm. "This is yours, Mia. Only yours." That was 3 years ago. 2 years before Mom married Richard. 18 months before Richard's son Tyler moved in with his big dreams and bigger appetite for other people's money. DeMarco's pawn shop sat between a nail salon and a check-cashing place. The kind of strip mall where desperation had a permanent address. Frank DeMarco looked exactly like a pawn shop owner should. Thick neck, suspicious eyes, gold pinky ring. But when he saw me, his expression softened. "You look like him," he said simply. "Your dad. He used to come in here sometimes back in the day." He did. Construction guys always need tools. He was one of the good ones. Always paid back his loans. Never tried to pull anything. Frank disappeared into the back and returned with a familiar leather box. "This came in yesterday. Guy said it was his to sell. But when I opened it up for inspection, he placed the box on the counter and lifted the lid. There was Dad's watch. Smaller than I remembered. More vulnerable. Normally, I don't question sellers too hard if the merchandise looks legit," Frank continued. "But this watch. I knew your dad. He'd never let this go. So I did some digging in our system." He looked at me closely. "Your father pawned this watch once, 15 years ago. Paid it back with interest in a month." My throat tightened. "The loan was for $3,000, Frank said. "Records show it was right around the time you started at that fancy private high school." I blinked. I'd gotten into St. Mary's Academy on academic scholarship, but there were still fees. Uniforms, books, activities. Dad had told me he got extra hours at work. He never mentioned pawning his most prized possession. "That's when I knew something was off with this sale," Frank said. "But that's not why I called." He picked up the watch and turned it over. When I was checking authenticity, I noticed something. He pressed a hidden latch and the back popped open. "This isn't standard. Someone modified the watch. Created a hidden compartment." Inside was a thin piece of paper folded impossibly small. "I haven't read it," Frank said. "Figured if your dad hid it like that it was meant for specific eyes." With trembling fingers I unfolded it. Dad's handwriting. Smaller than usual but unmistakably his. "Mia, if you're reading this, something's happened to the watch. Check the safe deposit box at First National. Box 447. The key is in my toolbox inside the level. The watch is yours, but what's in that box is your future. Don't let anyone tell you different. Dad. You okay?" Frank's voice sounded far away. I need to buy the watch back." "How much?" Frank hesitated. The guy who brought it in, tailish, maybe mid-20s, kept going on about his app startup. "Tyler. Of course. He took cash. $8,500. My stomach dropped. "But here's the thing," Frank said. "I never filed the paperwork. Technically, this transaction never happened." "What do you mean?" "I've been in this business 30 years. I know stolen goods when I see them, even if the thief has a key to the house." He slid the watch toward me. "Take it. If anyone asks, it was never here. I can't just. Your dad helped me once. My kid needed surgery and I was short on rent. He did a roofing job for me at cost. Let me pay him over 6 months. Never mentioned it again. Frank's voice softened. This is me settling up. I left the shop clutching the watch, mind racing. Dad's toolbox was in the garage. Mom had wanted to throw it out, but I'd insisted on keeping it. The level he mentioned was his favorite, an old Stanley. But first I had questions that needed answers. I found Mom and Richard in the kitchen, hunched over coffee and what looked like bank statements. They looked up when I entered. I saw it instantly, the guilt, before Mom rearranged her face into polite confusion. Mia? What are you doing home? I placed the watch on the counter between us. Looking for this. The silence stretched. Where did you, Mom started. Where did I find the watch you stole from my desk drawer? The watch you pawned for Tyler's ridiculous app idea? The only thing my father left me. My voice was steady, calmer than I felt. Is that what you were going to ask? Now, Mia, Richard stood, shifting into his mediator voice. Let's not be dramatic. Tyler needed capital for his business. His third business, I snapped. After the food truck and the crypto investment. This one's different, Mom interjected. He has a partner. Business plan. Funded by stealing from me. It's not stealing, Richard said. We're a family. Family shares resources. Like Tyler shared his trust fund with me? I said. Oh wait, he spent that on a Mercedes and a trip to Cabo. That's different. How? Mom stood, her face hardening. Because Tyler has potential. He's building something. You just sit on valuable things while people with vision need resources. There was the one she'd been circling since marrying Richard. I had a steady job. A boring life. No grand ambitions. Therefore I deserved less. Tyler had dreams. So he deserved everything, even what wasn't his. I want the money back, I said quietly. Every penny of the $8,500. Richard laughed. We don't have it. It's already invested in techno solutions. Then liquidate it. You can't just. I've reported the watch stolen. I have the police report number. Either I get the money or I press charges. You wouldn't. Mom gasped. Tyler could go to jail. Tyler committed a felony. That's not my fault. After everything we've done for you. Mom's voice went shrill. We let you live here. I pay rent. Above market rate, actually. We're your family. Dad was my family. This watch was his legacy to me. And you let your husband and his son steal it, like it meant nothing. I left them sputtering and went straight to the garage. Dad's old toolbox was still under the workbench, dusty but untouched. The Stanley level sat in its usual place. I'd helped him use it 100 times, checking cabinets, fixing shelves, always hearing his voice remind me that close enough wasn't good enough when you were building something to last. Inside the level's bubble chamber, wrapped in plastic, was a small key. First National Bank was downtown in a building Dad helped renovate back in the 90s. The safe deposit box required 2 keys, mine and the bank's. The manager, an older woman who remembered my father, didn't ask questions. Box 447 was larger than I expected. Inside were 3 items. A manila envelope. A leather journal. A letter addressed to me. I read the letter first. Mia, if you're reading this, you found my little insurance policy. Your mother doesn't know about this box. I started it when you were born because I knew, even then, that you were going to be special. The envelope has bearer bonds from my father. They're worth about $100,000 now, maybe more. The journal has everything on the business. Client lists, contacts, outstanding invoices that were never collected. There's probably another $50,000 in there if you want to pursue it. But here's what I really want you to know. I didn't just leave you a watch. I left you time. Time to choose your own path without worrying about money. Time to leave if you need to. Time to be yourself, without apology. Your mother is a good woman, but she sees the world through noise. Who talks the loudest, who wants the most. You were always quiet like me. That doesn't make you less deserving. It makes you observant. Smart. Careful. Use this wisely. And remember, the watch isn't just jewelry. It's a reminder that time is the only real currency we have. Don't let anyone steal yours. All my love. That. P.S. If that boyfriend of yours, the one who borrowed money and never paid it back, is still around, dump him. You deserve better. I laughed through my tears, even the boyfriend line. Dad had been right about Marcus. I dumped him 6 months after Dad passed. The bonds were there just as promised. The journal was filled with Dad's meticulous records, including contractors who still owed him money. One name jumped out. Richardson Construction, $15,000 for a job Dad completed a month before his diagnosis. Still in business. Still prominent. They probably hoped the debt died with him. They were wrong. That night I stayed at a hotel and made plans. The next morning I hired a lawyer, Diane Vasquez, estate recovery specialist. She looked at the journal and smiled like a shark. Your father kept impeccable records, she said. This is all actionable. The bonds, the debts. They don't disappear just because someone dies. How long to recover it all? I asked. The bonds? Immediately. The debts? Give me 3 months. I handed her the retainer and drove back to Mom's house. I couldn't call it home anymore. They were in the living room, Mom, Richard, and Tyler, who was animatedly pitching his app. Something about revolutionary blockchain integration with social media. He stopped when he saw me. Amelia, he said with his practiced charm. Look about the watch. Save it. I turned to Mom and Richard. I'm moving out. Today. Don't be ridiculous, Mom snapped. Over a watch. Over a betrayal. Over you choosing them over me again and again. Over letting them steal from me, because you think I don't deserve what's mine. Where will you go? Richard asked, probably calculating if they could rent out my room for more. That's not your concern anymore. Tyler stood up. I'll pay you back when the app takes off. No. You'll pay me back now. $8,500. Plus interest. My lawyer will be in touch. Lawyer. Mom's face drained of color. Mia, you can't. I can. I am. Dad always said, the best time to stand up for yourself is the moment you realize you're being stood on. I packed my things. Not much. What mattered fit in 2 suitcases. The watch went back on my wrist where it belonged. As I loaded the car, Mom came out one last time. Your father would be ashamed, she said coldly. Turning on your family like this. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the woman who stood by while her new family dismantled my old one. Piece by piece. My father, I said clearly, left me more than you ever knew. And the only thing he'd be ashamed of is that it took me this long to see you for what you are. I drove away. And I didn't look back. The bearer bonds cashed out at $127,000. They'd accrued more interest than Dad had calculated. Diane recovered $43,000 of the outstanding debts within 6 weeks. Richardson Construction paid in full to avoid a lawsuit. Tyler's app failed within 3 months. He blew the watch money on office space and logo design. Never even built a prototype. Richard called once asking for a small loan. I hung up. Mom tried reaching out through relatives, painting me as the ungrateful daughter who abandoned family over material things. I sent them all the same response. A photo of the police report. Tyler's name highlighted. The calls stopped. I used Dad's money to buy a small house in the neighborhood where he'd grown up. Nothing fancy, solid bones, he would have said. His toolbox sits in my garage. His level still in its place of honor. The watch rests on my nightstand each night, ticking steady like a heartbeat. Sometimes I open the secret compartment just to remind myself it's real. That Dad really did think ahead. That he protected me even after he was gone. Time is the only real currency we have. Dad knew that. He knew the watch would matter, not for its value but for what it meant. All the time we had together. All the time he worked to give me a future. He also knew that one day someone might try to take it from me. So he made sure that even if they took the watch, they couldn't steal what really mattered. The time to choose my own life. The time to stand up for myself. The time to realize I've always been worthy of every second. The watch is mine again. But more importantly, so's my time. And I'm not wasting another minute on people who think they deserve it more than I do.